We really want to make sure that whoever we work with understands that we don't want to be amateur hour. We want to be professional. We want to make sure everything is done properly and make sure that we're able to kind of reproduce great quality content.
Talking about where you see your podcast in like 5-10 years.
We want to be the #1 resource for people that want to quit their job and start a profitable business up to the $1 million mark.
Why did you almost not decide to work with us? Omar, thank you so much for having this interview with me. I wanted to talk real quick about your experience working with us at 20X Agency, since you came on from a very successful audio podcast. And I remember the first conversation we had was, Ken, I need some help getting my home studio set up. And we talked a bit about that. And then you said, what else do you do? And then I explained about our video production service and social media and things. And since then, we've helped you to take your audio only podcast and create a YouTube channel and start putting it out everywhere. I'd love for you to just kind of walk me through what was the experience like from your perspective and just the initial stages.
So from my perspective and Nicole's perspective, we did all our podcast production in-house for a very long time, for a decade. So we were very much comfortable with having our own team and training them and working with them and walking through what kind of edits we want and the style and all that kind of stuff. And we were just kind of used to doing it internally. So when we went into video, we had the choice to either do the same with video or work with an agency like yourself. We saw some other agencies and some other people that, you get pitched all the time when you have a podcast. Hey, we'd love to create your reels, all that kind of stuff. But we're very organized and you guys are very organized and you got your ducks in a row and everything is super like streamlined. And we really wanted to make sure that whoever we work with understands that we don't want to be amateur hour. We want to be professional. We want to make sure everything is done properly. We want to build a system, refine the system, create a better system, and make sure that we're able to kind of reproduce great quality content. So when we approached you guys and we've worked on the studio first, and then we realized, okay, you guys do other things and you can help us with the production part of things. I think what we enjoy the most about working with you guys is that we are able to kind of utilize your team like our own and see them as our own team members. And we're like, I don't know if we're like annoying to you guys because you're like in your chat and we're constantly like, that's great guys, but we want to do this way. But we're really kind of hands-on, and because we want to make sure that everybody understands this is the song sheet we're singing from, this is what we're trying to get to, and this is what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, thank you for that. By the way, we actually do love how you get involved in the chats. Actually, the most frustrating thing for us as an agency is when people don't engage.
Yeah.
And we don't know, like, are you loving the stuff? Are you not? Like, did you get it? The file, are you going to post it? Like, there's just like the ambiguity is the most frustrating thing from agency work. So whether it's something that you want to tell us needs to get tweaked or fixed, or we're just saying, hey, got it. Like, that is how we keep a pulse on how we're doing. So it makes so much sense.
And I don't know if this is okay with you guys, but I just see your team members and extensions of our team. And I feel like if we want to create great content and great production, yes, it's your responsibility to, help me do that. But also I see them as, okay, how can we get them some training? How we can work with them? How can we figure out a better way? You tell me, how can I make your job easier? Should I change my scripts, my hooks? Should I do it in different files? Should I use Riverside? So I feel like the ability of able to, instead of hiring these people individually, being able to work with them as if I did is very useful for us.
I appreciate that. Thank you. From the time we started to now, I believe we're at somewhere between 10 and 11,000 subscribers.
Yeah, 11.3.
We're over 11,000.
Yeah, 11.6 subscribers.
And I know there's a combination of promotion that you did on your end. Yeah. And then a few things that when we started, we got the stuff up there, but then the strategy came a little bit later. How do you see YouTube, where do you see it going? And how is that going to be different from the audio only podcast you've been doing up until now?
I see YouTube as kind of a really top of the funnel way of getting people to know me, know the content, know what we're all about, that never heard of us before. We don't really think that I could be wrong, but I feel like there's very little overlap between the YouTube audience and the audio audience. I think people that like to consume audio podcasts or consume the podcast, they don't really double dip. I think we're seeing it as a discoverability tool, YouTube. In terms of growth, I think our job is to continue to do what we're doing, put something out, figure out how it's performing, tweak it, change it, whether it's the content itself or the thumbnail, the title, or whatever it might be. I enjoy being a beginner again. I think it's great and fun, but I recognize the fact that it could be frustrating at times. Like, we did really well with some videos, and some videos like, okay, why didn't this do as well? What's going on here? And it's going to take a while for us to figure that out. First thing I told you when we got started is like, I'm here for the long term. I know this is going to take time, and I'm okay with that. We need to just take our time to figure this out and do it right. So yeah, I'm happy with the way things are going, but I think that we could do a lot more in the next year.
Yeah, I believe so too. And I didn't tell you this on the spot, but if you had said, hey, we want 10,000 followers in a month, I would have probably said we're not the right people for you at the moment, because there are ways to do that, but it's not long-term growth. You can just buy followers, and it's just a matter of how much you're willing to pay. But it's zero reflection on how good your content actually is, because you're just running ads to the roof, right?
Right.
Or using some type of hack with getting stay-at-home Indian mothers to subscribe, which you can get for a couple cents a piece. But that's not a reflection of how good your content is, just running ads to the cheapest possible respondents. So if you had said we need X amount by X time, I would have been like, nah, it's not us. Or you want to get hooked up with a major influencer and get them to start promoting you. So I do appreciate that, the long-term vision, because that allows us and you to learn together, like, what is it that actually works,
right?
And then build it on our own merits. Was there anything unexpected or surprising that you learned since you started working with us?
Yeah, I think that working on YouTube, working on video content, two things. I would say one is challenging. The other one is surprisingly good. The first challenging part was, there is a different way to deliver the content on video. Like, I had to adjust the way I start the episodes and get right to the content as fast as possible, and come up with creative hooks and come up with interesting ways to kind of present the information and re-engage people in different minute marks, things that we talked about a bunch of times, and re-scripting and all that kind of stuff. I think I had a little bit more leeway with audio, because people are like not going to touch their phone for a while. They're just basically, I'm listening to this episode, I'm on phone by laundry, and I'm locked in.
It's the finger on the trigger thing, right?
Yeah.
And when you're watching, your finger's always on the trigger. It's just like boop, boop, boop. With audio, it's the hands-off experience. I always picture somebody, because I do it, and I'm watching. The moment it's boring, just flip Netflix, right? So it's a different animal. Even if the content is just as good quality, they literally have their finger on the trigger.
Yeah, so I feel like that was a challenge, but I feel like those changes and those improvements really have improved the podcast in general. When I listen to even the audio, when I'm driving in the car, I'm like, okay, yes, I listen to my episodes to see if I'm doing any good, but it's kind of like a QA. The interesting thing is I've really neglected my social media accounts for a very long time when I was running Webinar Ninja, because I just didn't have the time to create the content, post the content. I knew that if we created good quality content on social media frequently, it would make a difference. And that theory proved right when we went to video, because now we have a lot more. We were able to create 2 to 3 reels every single video. So we're posting 6-7 times a week, maybe sometimes more, 10 across 5 different platforms. And we saw a good growth in our social media following and engagement and all that kind of stuff, just for the mere fact that you had so much volume of quality content. And I told you, I just want to create the content. I want your team to help me, post it, distribute it, make it all happen, because it's really hard for me to kind of build the podcast. Then now I got to build my social media videos. That'll build this for LinkedIn. And it's great to just have the team take care of it.
Thank you for that. What you said earlier about how you appreciate how organized everything is. I will say very candidly that it's mostly everybody else who's organized, and me who comes up with the wild ideas that they have to somehow digest and put it into an organized fashion. So I can't take credit for that, and I'd rather be transparent about it from the beginning. I could come up with good ideas, and that's where my zone of genius probably is. One question I love to ask, and this is for my own knowledge, is why did you almost not decide to work with us? At the decision points, should we hire them? Should we not? There must have been a primary objection that at some point you're like, this is a tough one. But then somehow you decided to work with us. And I like to ask this question because there's always a primary objection. I want to know what that is.
To be honest with you, I don't think there was a big objection. I think one of the things I learned through my entrepreneurial career, through my experience with Webinar Ninja, is that you need to make the right hire for the right time, for the right needs of your business at that moment. And I needed to make sure that you guys could do what we need to do based on where we were with a podcast and then starting with video. So that really was just the only thing I needed to tick is, I don't want to work with people that, have never worked with podcasters before, but at the same time, I don't want to work with somebody that has a podcast that's 10 times bigger than me because like they have different needs, and they're going to work in a different way. And they might even see us as micromanaging them or whatever. So I think that just making the right decision for our business at where it is what we were trying to do. And I think once we figured that would be going with you guys would be that way. And it was an easy decision.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
From our end, and this is something me and my wife talk about a lot, is like we've worked with people who were very famous, very influential, but they weren't a lot of fun to work with. And I don't think I could really imagine sitting down in my own dining room having a chat with them like I am with you right now. And one of the things that we kept talking about is like, I really like working with these people. And even just from the initial calls, how I record on my calls, right? My team watches it. Okay. And they're just like, oh, we really like these guys. That's what they told me.
Okay, great.
And so that's from our end. Like, I think a lot of people don't really see hiring a service provider as a two-way street. It's just like, it's a buyer's market.
Right.
But we've fired clients in the past that, just like you get to choose, in your preloaded year, what you want to do and when. We also have, opinions about who we want to work with and who we don't. And it's not necessarily about who pays the most. It's more about like, hey, like, are we going to actually not want to burn the business down working with these guys? So that's one of the things from our end that we actually discuss internally. Like, do we like these guys or not? And you guys pass the test with my colors.
I really appreciate that because I do feel like that's a good litmus test. If you want to, if you're interviewing somebody and you want to have a meal with them later on, that's a good, sign because you're going to be spending 8 to 9 hours a day with them. It might as well be pleasant,
From the services perspective, like, how we work together. We have team members who are spending all day with your content and we communicate quite a bit. And it's different from, let's just say, like if you have a SaaS or like just a course, because you don't have to actually deal too much with each client as much as like we actually hire dedicated team members to work with you. So it's a bigger commitment, right? So yeah, I guess that's why we, it's a lesson we learned is like, do we like working with them? That's just, a simple question we got to ask each time. So we really enjoy working with you and I appreciate
mutual
time. Talking about where you see your podcast / YouTube / content empire growing. Where do you see it going in like 5-10 years?
Yeah. Nicole and I are very clear on this. Like we want to be the number one resource for people that want to quit their job and start a profitable business up to the $1 million mark. So our job is to take them from that start stage of making what I think is from $0 to $10,000 a year. That's just proof of concept. I made my first dollar. I know how to make money now outside of a paycheck. And then moving on to the growth stage, which is from that 10,000 to 300,000, which a lot of people get stuck at. It's like, okay, I'm making good money. I'm comfortable with what I'm doing now. I don't know how to change as a person and my system, my business to scale it to $1 million. And that's the scale stage where we take them to that 300,000 to $1 million. Beyond $1 million, there's great people like Taki and Dale that can take them beyond that point. That's kind of my zone of genius, is where I can, take a business from first, just rewire the mindset and the brain and make sure that they believe they can do it, build their business on the side while they're in their job, to the point where they can feel like have confidence and have proof of concept to quit their job and have a business on the side. So, or have a business full time, I should say. So for us, we want to be the number one resource for people that are looking to quit their job to start a business to that point. And we believe it's very achievable in the next 5 years. And that's really what we're focusing on. That's why I give everything I can to the podcast and give as much information as I can and just be honest as possible. If we resonate with people, then they'll take us on.
Well, I don't really have so many more questions for you now, but I do want to say that since we picked up you as a client, we've been learning probably just as much from you as vice versa. And one of the things that I picked up on that I love is the systematic approach to your content scheduling and programming. And I don't think that you could have done 10 years of not missing an episode without that level of dedication to the plan. A lot of clients come to us and they give us, just, hey, here's a bunch of recordings of our webinars or coaching calls. or live training sessions, make something with that. And we do, and then we give them what we can kind of try to piece together and organize. But since you showed us your system, we're trying to educate our clients to do it that way, like plan it first and then shoot it,
Right.
then we'll slot that in. So that's been a help to us. I appreciate that.
I appreciate that. I can't take credit because this is Nicole's zone of genius. Nicole's the one who's come up with all the strategy of the production. From day one in 2014, when we launched the podcast, we understood that we're part of the media now. And what does a radio show do? A radio show has a broadcast clock, has segments, understands how to batch these episodes, how to record them properly, how do we promote these podcasts? Like all these systems were built from the ground up. Nicole's the one who's created them and was able to kind of tweak them, change them, and most importantly, document them so that we can be able to teach them to our team, be able to see how we can turn that into video and turn that into social content or turn it into a webinar. But a lot of people see content creation, podcast videos as kind of like a hustle.
Yeah.
They see it as a way to market.
Yeah.
And you just can't afford to have that mentality now when you have celebrities, you have Stephen Colbert, you have Shaq, you have comedians, Mark Maron, all these people are creating these podcasts who are in media, that have media training, that they take this seriously. This is their life. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we did is take it seriously and try to have that kind of structure. And even for me, like I had to improve my speaking skills. I got, speech lessons, I got voice lessons. I learned how to use my voice in a better way so that people that have me in their ears, they're not fatigued, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's one of the biggest things we learned through our systems and through our practices is that you're going to do it anyway. You might as well do it right. You might as well just be serious about it. Have fun, but be serious about it. Do it right,
Yeah, I think that once you have structure, then within those safety barriers you put up for yourself, that's where you have all the fun, right? You set up those fences. I got a question, which is, from what you experienced working with us so far, what kind of business owner do you think would benefit the most from this type of service?
I think what I love about working with you, and I think what somebody would benefit, is somebody is very clear on what they want, right? If you're clear on, like what I wanted was, I just wanted to focus on the content, and I want all the editing, all the production, all the distribution to be handled and be done properly, timely, in conjunction with my team. So like, Cindy on our team helps with the QA and helps make sure that we hands it over to audio and all that kind of stuff. So if you're somebody that wants to focus on the content, and this is something that I really believe, it's very hard for you to do everything. Like imagine Jerry Seinfeld, he wrote and he acted in Seinfeld, the show. But imagine he had to do the lights and do the wardrobe and get the catering and everything else. Like it would be so hard. Like, so why do you think you're Superman or Superwoman and you can do it? So I think it's really helpful to have this team of yours to take care of all the things that you really are not meant to do. Like, honestly, like I love what you do. And I think that it'd be fun to kind of dabble in editing and all that kind of stuff. But if I'm going to be honest and use my time wisely and give what my audience needs the most, I need to focus on the content creation, and I need to be able to have the space and the time to be able to produce that. And then if you're somebody that's music to your ears, then you're going to love working with Ken and the team, because they're going to handle everything and you don't have to worry about things not being published on time or things falling through the cracks. And what I also love about working with you guys is that you guys understand that you need to learn our taste, learn what's going to be aligned with our brand. And over time, you guys started to cultivate that understanding and through the QA process. So yeah, if you're somebody who just wants to focus on the content and let all the other work taken care of, go with you guys.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. And I don't have any more questions for you, but I do appreciate working with you as a client and welcoming you into our home anytime you like.
Thanks, guys. I really love working with you guys. It's great. And even though the cameras are rolling, I'm going to be completely honest with you too. I think that we've had a great working relationship and we love what we're doing. And I think what's exciting about the future is that we're going to grow together. We're going to learn from each other. The relationship is going to change. We're going to see like, okay, we've built this side of the business. We hit this milestone. What's the next challenge? What we're going to do together? You might come to be like, well, actually, I think we should do this. And I'll say, no, I think we should do that. And then we'll have to figure that out. But
I would like to have that collaborative experience, maybe at the next stage, what we do.
Yeah. So I think that as much as I love what's the relationship now, I know that it's going to change and grow. And that's what I love about business. That it's always new.
Love it. Well, thank you very much, Omar.
Thank you.
That's it.